live streaming with us, welcome. For those of you that are here, welcome. For those of you that don't know where you're at, I'm just joking. Anybody need a copy of what we were looking at? I'll give you two of them, and you can get them to cooperate. Yeah, let me grab another one, I think. Anybody else? You sure can. I've got some extras here if anybody needs one. Not tonight. This is the only one we're looking at. So, let me get everything together here. Should be there. Okay, so this is what we have so far that I remember. This is what I wrote down, and then we will need someone to be a mic runner for us tonight. So I'll get that ready. I don't know who would volunteer to do that. Or Vicki can do it, or whomever. So I'll give you what I've got, and then we can fill in accordingly if whatever was missed. I was driving down a snowy road. We talked about she was the driver. She's the focus of attention and the one to be in control, and that is kind of through the whole dream. She's the focus. White snow-covered road, we came to the conclusion that, speaking of deception, could be something evil, but she's driving in deception. Of course, the couple things I didn't write down is it's coming yet. She's in a mid-sized car. The car refers to her personal life and or her ministry, because those can kind of jive together. So she's driving her life or her ministry in deception. She's surrounded with it. She's driving on it. The road was white, and we had determined the whole thing needs to be by and large, it needs to be interpreted negatively because of the scenes and the setting and everything of how it lays out. So we're just reviewing a bit. I'll hit the last part there. We didn't get very far last week. I spun to the left. Left is the direction of disfavor. We concluded that meant the weakness of man. So spun is she lost control of her ministry or her life. And the reason she lost control is shown by the direction she spun. There's some kind of weakness in her that the Lord hasn't been able to help yet and strengthen that caused the loss of control. And she slid to the right side of the road. Slid and slide, when we look that up, it speaks of what we settled on is there would have been protection in the Word, but the Word, the Scripture, the Bible basis that she needed is not in her heart, because that's one of what the book talks about of sliding, or to have slid means the Word's not in your heart. Could even go to the point of spiritual adultery, or we're getting information. We're in bed with the wrong person here. We're getting information from the wrong source. The right side of the road, we decided to interpret that positively, in that it's speaking of the direction of favor, right? The road is the path she's going on. When we looked it up in the book, it talked about the power of God revealed, and it went on a little bit. We felt what it went on and said was not what it was talking about, but it was talking about she slid out. There's some weakness. The reason she slid out is she's off someplace in her heart from where the Word is at. But God, in His mercy, she slid to the right side of the road. God's power was revealed. There was a car wreck. It wasn't a severe one. Car wrecks mean conflict or mistakes. And something, obviously, to this point, the conclusion was something in her life is not going well. And in her life, we would be speaking in her ministry or in her personal life, or it can be a combination, because many times what's going on in our personal life affects our ministry. And what's going on in the ministry can affect our personal life. It's hard sometimes to really separate them. That's why it's dangerous if someone ends up in a ministry that is beyond their personal character growth. They don't have the character within to support the magnitude of what God or what's happening in their ministry. Usually they fall. Usually that falls apart because the ministry is dependent on them and they are dependent on the ministry. They kind of go back and forth. So something's not going well, and it's shown in the next line. But before we go there, does anybody have anything to add that I missed? Okay, so we're all pretty much on the same page. We got one more. We'll need the mic because we want the live streamers to hear what's being said. I don't know if it's muted or not. Flip that channel up. There you go.
You didn't.
Give him a chance.
Hello?
Oh,
Okay.
he's bringing the volume up a bit.
You said, but didn't have written in there about the women in the back seat. Does that go with this first paragraph or
That one's still coming. We talked about it, though.
but you didn't write, okay,
But
so
we
it's
didn't-
still, it's going to be in the
Yeah,
other paragraph.
we'll get there tonight.
Okay.
But we did talk about it a bit, but let's wait until we actually get there to go in depth on it. Anybody else? Okay, so now in the laying out of a dream, you want to find the big picture as quickly as possible. What would you say so we've started this thing out, we see now where this is going. What would you call the big picture of the dream after having read the whole thing? How would you reduce this dream down to one or two sentences? Or can you yet? If you can't, that's fine. Here's how I would look at it. Let me move this side a bit so I can be reading that up there. To this point, yes, something's wrong, and it's throwing our personal life and ministry towards the ditch. God's grace, we didn't hit the ditch yet, but it's throwing us there. There's other people that are going to be affected. We're going to talk about them in a bit. The part that I'm not clearly seeing, I'm seeing the big picture of it. Rescuers show up, but the rescuers are all wrong. That much I've seen. We haven't taken it apart, and I intentionally stayed away from it. I did not want to get any deeper than what we got because I didn't want to come in with any preconceived ideas. So we're opening this up together. Walt has something in the back. So that's how I would go the big picture on this at this point.
To answer your question in a quick summary, I would say you're going off course and God wants to correct it. Just a quick one sentence.
Quick one sentence thing. Very good. So the heart of the dream would be exactly that. He's trying to show you you're off course. The reason you're off course, you're deceived. Now, I don't know if anything's going to show up what the deception was. Because like I said, I haven't gone into this. Sometimes God doesn't tell us in the dream, like in this case, what the deception would be. He wants us to start looking at our life and saying, where am I off? Rather than him throwing something at us and then we sit and argue with it. Well, I don't see it that way, and then we miss the point. Sometimes he just says, you're off, and we're going, no, I'm not. No, you're off. I'm not going to tell you where. You find it. The Holy Spirit will show you how to find it. So let's go a little deeper. We got that far. The car was stopped, but now hanging over the berm on the edge of the road. Let's take that sentence. The car was stopped, but now hanging over the snow berm. It's supposed to be B-U-R-M, not N. It's N on your sheet. It's supposed to be M, berm, on the edge of the road. But we're not in the ditch, and we're not in the river. So that's good, because there wasn't really much ditch there. It went right down into the river. So the car, that's the ministry, that's the personal life. We are not advancing. We're at a standstill right now. Has stopped. Does anybody have anything, do you know, did anybody look up stop or stopped in the book? Does it say anything about it? Okay, we'll have, it's all right, bring up what you've got, and we'll go back to it.
So ditch is a habit or a snare, a religious tradition, addiction, lust, passion, or sin.
Okay,
So
go real
stopping-
slow, because we're going to
Oh.
take that apart.
Okay.
The car was hanging over the snow edge of the road. Mid-sized car, one passenger. If you look at the picture on the back, get one of these flipped over. I don't know if there was a ditch beside the road or it went straight down into the river.
Would it not be since it went off the road, would that not be a ditch? See, that's why I looked up.
Yeah.
Oh, is there ditch? Like
Yeah.
ditch, berm.
It
there ain't
would,
no berm.
it probably, maybe the snow berm is the ditch, and it's pushed into the ditch, and right beside the ditch, it drops into the river. We can look at the word ditch. I have no problem with that.
Oh, okay.
So, with that in mind, since you already looked up the definitions, I want to write them down, or I want us to write down what we feel are the right ones. So remember how we did this. We're going to try to get a feeling in our spirit on, she listed 5, 6 things there, which one or ones apply to this. So I'm going to have you say one and give us about 10 seconds, and then say the next one and give us about 10 seconds and read through what you found in the book there.
Okay. Habit. Snare. Religious tradition. Addiction. Lust. Passion. Sin. That was the last one.
Okay? Give us the first one. Give her the mic back.
I apologize.
Give us the first one. What was it?
Habit.
How many felt that was it? Give us the next one.
Snare.
Anybody get snare? Oh, most of us got snare. So let me write. I got to start writing some things here. So I'm writing ditch, and what we're feeling ditch could, even though ditch wasn't specifically mentioned, I would need to ask the person if they felt like there was a ditch under the snow berm or whatever, but we're going with it for the moment. Snare, most people got snare. What else you got?
Religious tradition.
Religious tradition. Okay, got about 3 or 4, so I'm going to write it down. Okay, what else?
Addiction.
Anybody get addiction? Okay, what else?
Lust.
Lust. Lust, okay. What else?
Passion.
Passion. How many got addiction? Because I too felt like the only 2 that really stuck out to me as being, and what I was looking for, is peaceful. When the word was said, it's just like very peaceful. When she says something and it goes, it just doesn't feel right, then I'm not going with that. For me, it was addiction and lust. So now, doesn't mean any of the others are wrong.
Yeah.
But by lust and addiction, snare is pretty easy to see. You're trying to be trapped in something. Religious tradition can be a snare. I mean, it'll trap you. Lust is desire out of control. In other words, you're desiring something so strongly, you're not paying attention to other things. And we usually pertain that to sexual things, lust. Yeah. And it's not just sexual things. It's any desire. It can be you're lusting so strongly to have that $400 purse that you can't afford that you're willing to sacrifice the needs of your children to get it or whatever. That would actually, in God's perspective, be termed lust. Your desire is out of control. You need to back up and really get a grip on that. So lust being desire out of control, and addiction, the simplest definition I have for it, how can you tell if a person's addicted? They find a way to get it.
Truth.
So lust and addiction go together for me. Whatever the desire out of control, that's we're so focused on this, we're missing all this.
Yeah.
Whatever this is that we're so focused on and desiring, the addiction part would be, we're going to find a way to get this. Addicts find a way.
Yep.
You know, even when you try to close all the doors, it's like, serious? You did that? They find a way. That's what I think of addiction. It's like, you're always, addictive people are always looking for a way. True. That is why Paul said, if you're looking for, he said this at the end of Corinthians, he was talking about one family that was helping him in ministry, and in the King James it says that they are addicted to ministry. They are the kind of people he's looking for to help him. In my mind, what that means is they would find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
The addicts find a way. Yeah. That's just all it's to it. They don't take no for, well, you can't do that. No, watch me. I'll find a way to do it. You can't have that drug. Watch me. It's only a matter of time. I'll find a way to get it. And it's constantly going in the background of, we're going to find a way to do this. And Paul was saying that's how we need to be towards ministry. We are going to find a way to do this. Well, it's impossible to do that. You watch. God's going to show me a way, and we're going to do this. So to me, hitting the ditch is, yeah, you're hitting a snare, but the thought would be the lure in the ditch, which would be have to be under the snow berm, would be, it's almost like self-imposed from my perspective. You are so desiring something that you're going to find a way to get it, and that is part of the problem here. We got one there. Got a thought?
I've got riverbank. Do you want to hear the riverbank?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're not quite there yet. Hanging over the snow berm on the edge of the road. We're stopped. So our ministry or our personal life, that's car, is now stopped, or we're at a standstill. We're not making progress. As a result of the slide out, we are now in a precarious situation. Hanging over the edge of the snow berm, the river's down below. As you get into the second part there, it's precarious in that the driver knew this could be shoved down into the river with the wrong move. So we're kind of balancing in the wrong spot here. What would that tell you concerning, it's the car. The car is balancing in the wrong spot. Of course, there's people in the car, so where the car goes, the people are going to go. Car being the ministry, people being part of that ministry. It's in a precarious situation. It could go bad. It might stay good. We're at a stop. What is that telling you, real life, what's happening? Choices? Yes, yes and no. Could be wavering faith. We're not sure what to think, where it's going.
So, sorry, I have a question. And I have the microphone, I guess. So, is that okay?
Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
Okay, so what do the people in the car represent to her?
Haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. That was my question. Is
That's your question?
I feel like that.
It might show us
Tell
some
us.
things. Yes, it
feel
might
like
show
it
us,
would-
and it will show us some things.
Because if my thoughts are just like, okay, well, it depends on who's in the car. How does what do they represent to her? Is it going to affect them, or are they involved? Like, what does that look like?
Okay, so let's go there. It's the next sentence. So
Cool.
I was driving, stopped, now hanging over the berm and the edge of the road. So we're still in the road. That's good. We haven't left the road yet. Still in the road. We're on the edge. I'll answer the question that I'm seeing it. The hanging over the edge on the berm, or just being, kind of teetering there, interpreting that into real life could go good if we get back on the road, or real life could go bad if we go in the river. We're kind of teetering.
Yeah.
In the physical realm, we're not secure. We're vulnerable. In the physical. Our personal life, our ministry is vulnerable right now. This could go bad, this could go good, depending upon the outcome. So let's go beyond that. I was driving with one girl and two women in a mid-sized car. Okay. Immediately something should stick out to you. Numbers.
Yep.
She knew how many people were there. Now that can be looked at two ways. A 1 and a 2. And or they're all in the back seat. Now you have a 3. Was that put up there, or was that not? Was that something might have been something I talked to her about. I said, where were they sitting? They were in the back seat. So if that's not in there, it's information I gathered otherwise. Nobody was in the passenger seat beside her. These 3 were in the back seat.
So does that? I'm sorry.
So let's go to the number 1 first. What does the number 1 mean? And then we're going to open up for your question or your thought.
Okay.
Number 1 in the book, what does it mean? Anybody know? Should be around page 42.
It says the number of God, or the beginning. It's a symbol or a number of unity, beginning, first in time, rank, order, importance, new.
Okay, so let's
there it
look at
is.
it as the number of 1. Close your eyes. I'm going to read these. See if there's anything here that stands out to you. Now, let me say this. If this is a 1 and a 2, then we're going to feel good about the 1 and the 2 being divided out that way. If this is 3 people sitting in the back seat, and it just is listing who the people are, then 1 and 2, we might not get anything on 1 and 2. It might be just the number 3. So, kind of pay attention as we're going through this. So the number 1, the number of God. Beginning. Unity. First in time or first in rank. First in order. Or first in importance. New. Okay, I'm going to go over one of them again. First in order. Okay, did anybody get anything on the number of God? Felt like that's it. Beginning. Unity. First in time. First in rank. First in order. First in importance. Nobody got anything? I kind of got first in order. So I'm going to write it down just for the fun of it, see where this goes. You can write down if you got something different. Nothing really was strong there, but first in order felt different than the rest. So then we've got the girl and the woman. One woman I didn't know, but the girl and the woman, the other woman and girl, she did know. So that's a number 2. So let's go with the number first, and then we can divide it a different way. The number 2, we're looking at this in the negative since it's the dream setting is negative. So let's start with the negative up there first. Okay, the number 2. This is showing difference or division. It implies opposition. Enmity, or like an enemy. Oppression. To divide, judge, to separate, to discern, witness, to be judgmental or accused. Anybody get anything on any of them? Okay? Let's go to the positive just for the fun of it on number 2. Sign for witness. Testimony. Agreement or unity. Any of those feel right to anybody? Which one? Unity, possibly. Write that down for yourself. So 1 and 2 have come up kind of empty. Let's go to the number 3. This is typically, I'll just start reading through. Close your eyes. Let's just follow through. There's quite a few of them here. Number 3, the number of the Godhead or conformity to the Godhead. It's showing us what is solid. It's showing us what's real. It's showing us what's substantial. Or complete. Means to conform, obey, copy, imitate, likeness, tradition. This number corresponds to our repentance and confession as we come out of sin in conformity to God's image. Anybody get anything on any of them? Okay, one person got something on conform. Anybody else get anything? I thought I might have got something on real. It typifies what's real. Maybe the numbers have nothing to do with this because we have no overwhelming movement that direction. So let's skip to looking at it a different way. What does a woman that we don't know, a person we don't know who's a female, does the book talk about that? I'm pretty sure it does. Does anybody have that? What does it say?
That we, with like people, right?
It should be under people, relatives, trades, I think, which
Woman.
is around 61 or 62, right in that area.
There's woman.
There's woman.
Mm-hmm.
Is there stranger?
Stranger, yes. Well, it says stranger in parentheses,
Oh, okay.
actually.
Let's see if I can get there.
It's 67.
Woman, stranger. Oh,
67.
wow. It's on page 67.
Woman.
So let's go through this.
Oh, snap.
I'll read them. Woman, spirit, seducing spirit, temptation, deception, witchcraft, God's messenger, like an angel, I don't think the last one applies. One's own self wasn't her. Anybody get anything on that line? What'd you get?
Got deception.
Deception? Anybody agree with deception?
And
Okay,
I
most
got
of us got deception.
witchcraft,
Witchcraft?
I think, if I remember right. Oh, it's either that or it's temptation. I can't remember now. It's either one of the two on the side.
Temptation, deception. That's most of us. Got that? Okay, I'm going to write that down.
So would that be the, sorry,
We're just going with woman at the moment. The strange woman, the first one woman. Deception, temptation. So that would be a reiteration of deception, because the white road is the same. Do we have girl in here? It might just say woman. Might not say anything at all.
girl, do they,
Where's girl at? Do we have girl in the Divinity Code book? I'm going to go look.
Stranger too.
Girl. Young church, literal girl, young generation. Okay, so let's go with that. Close your eyes. Girl. Young church. Literal girl. Young generation. What'd you get? Literal church? Or young church? Literal girl? Young generation. Yeah, that's what I got to. That was pretty much hands down. Girl is young generation. Can you read stranger to us, just so we can see what
Yeah, it's
what you're?
long. Non-believer, not of the household of faith. 2 is not belonging. Christ, if Christ appears as a stranger, it is either a test as per the scripture below or a serious warning because it says you do not know him. 4 is an angel. 5 is sojourner or pilgrim. 6, not of the family, like an alien. 7, not at home. 8, an outcast. 9, one without their own provision. 10, not yourself. 11, not known or not knowing. And 12 is not from in the crowd.
Read the first 3, 4 again.
Number 1 was non-believer, not of the household of faith. 2 was not belonging. 3 was Christ. If Christ appears as a stranger, it's either a test, as per the scripture below, or a serious warning because it says you do not know him. 4 was angel.
To me, non-believer is kind of, but the second one. What was the second one?
Not belonging.
Not belonging. Anybody who's with me on that? I'm going to write that down. Okay. That was under the word stranger.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're talking about the one woman I didn't know. So now we've got conflicting things here, so now we've got to go back and re-hit that. Are we talking about a stranger, or are we talking about what we found under the word woman, or both? So I'm going to read, there's 4 things we found. See if they're all 4 still peaceful, or if something's off. We're talking about one woman I didn't know. Okay? Deception. Temptation. Not belonging. Unbeliever. How many got deception? Still feel that's good? How many got temptation? Okay. How many got not belonging? Anybody? See, I felt really, really strong about not belonging. I'm the only one? One more? Unbeliever. Yeah, me too. So all 4 of them seem to still apply. The one that, as a group, we got less was not belonging. So I'll just do that, just make that stand out. Girl was young generation. Now, does it talk about someone we know? Familiar people, page 64. Generally represent the characteristics the person carries in your opinion. Well, I'm not going to be able to answer that because I didn't ask. The girl and the woman, the one person she didn't know, but the girl and the woman live with her at her house. I don't know what characteristics the woman presents to her. I'll have to ask that. Did anybody get anything different on that line before we went over it right now? Okay, so let me give you what I got, which has nothing to do with taking it apart word by word. And sometimes you do it that way, and sometimes you don't. Like when Joseph was interpreting the dream of the cattle and the sheaves, he didn't pay any attention to take apart the word cow or cattle or sheaf. It didn't matter. It was what they represented that mattered. And it wasn't in them, so to speak. What I got on this as I read it through the first couple of times had nothing to do with the fact of whether it's a woman or a girl or, the definitions of the words. These people are in the back seat. They're in the passenger seat, which means they're not in control of this, but they are in the ministry or in the person's life, and they are along for the ride. Whatever the person who's driving decides, they're going to have to live with because they're in the back seat. We have a hand over here, so we'll need the mic going over there. So to me, if I was going to sum that up, is what's happening in the ministry by losing control and, sliding towards the ditch and stopping is having a direct effect on other people. Some we know, some we don't know. The girl, I think, definitely represents a different generation. Okay, what do you get?
In the divinity book for the word back, one of the definitions is ignorant.
Okay,
So it's almost like they're just, like you said, they're following along for the ride. And then some of the other ones were moving away and not able or wanting to face something.
okay. So you're
I thought
looking
it was
away
just-
from
I
it.
just thought it was interesting, the word ignorant, because it's almost like because the person, they're going to do whatever,
Okay.
They're not going to stand up and fight it.
What I've got is back, and then we'll hand it on to Sally, is back can mean previous or something in our past, good or evil, something in our past, good or evil, doesn't have to be good or evil, can be the one. That which is behind, And none of those made any sense to me in this, but these others kind of like unaware, unsuspecting, and hidden. That to me is like, yep, that fits, because the people who are along for the ride may be unaware of what's happening, and the driver might be unaware of what's happening to them as the driver's driving the car. They're being affected. It's kind of hidden. We're unaware of it. Anyway, go ahead.
Because it was determined last week that the word was in her head but not in her heart,
Yep.
what I was picking up in this is that all during this whole thing, she's been being driven, not led.
Oh.
And because there are other people involved that are going to be harmed, the car was stopped.
For their sake more than hers,
Yeah,
or for both.
all.
Yep.
But very definitely. And that this was meant to be a wake-up call, a definite wake-up call, because she has definitely been deceived. She does not know what is right, so she will not know what is wrong.
Okay. How do we write that down? Kevin has something. How many agree with that? Everybody agrees with that. Somebody's got to find a way to write that down, because that was a long statement, but it's like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and this kind of tails onto that. I mean, we jumped out of the snow berm and the edge of the road, but I thought the definition of snowdrift was interesting too, because that's the closest I could find for snow
Yep.
berm.
What did you find for snowdrift?
That it's
'Cause-
an arrestment or a barrier,
okay.
which goes along with okay, something's going on here, and the car is being hung up on a barrier to stop it so that it can be addressed rather than just going straight down the road and continuing on.
Okay, we got to go back and somehow capture what Sally said. And it was so good she probably won't remember it. You want to try? Because it could have been the Spirit speaking out of you, but give it a shot. And I'm going to try, go slow. I'm going to try to make notes.
Because it was determined a week ago that the word was in her head, but not in her heart, she was being driven, not led. And because there were others in the car with her who were going to be influenced, the car was stopped, cold turkey, stopped. And then this was a wake-up call for her, basically. And if you do not know what is right, you won't know what's wrong, and that is the word.
I'm making notes. Not knowing what's right, you won't know what's wrong. What was the last thought you had?
Well, that was basically it. If you don't know, which is the word of God, if you don't know what is right,
Okay.
you won't know what's wrong.
So this is what I got. She was driven, not led, because the word wasn't in her heart. Others in the car would be influenced because of that.
Yep.
The car was stopped for all so that everybody would be saved, so to speak.
Well, it was a wake-up call
Wake-up
for
call,
her. that
there it
would-
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Wake-up call. Because if you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. Which, to me, for whatever reason, that perception of that last line of the first paragraph ties into the word ditch and lust and addiction inside me. I don't know if I could put it in words yet, but she's driven. We're so focused desire-wise. It's to the point of like almost being out of control on something. We are going to find a way to make this happen. We're driven. We're not led. and it's going to affect everybody, and this is a wake-up call, don't go there. So we might be starting, this is just a question in my mind, I'll say it out loud since we're all doing this together. We might be starting to see what the deception is. It's something that is a lust and an addiction. It's something that we're driven after. We're going to get this. We're going to find a way. We're going to make this happen. And it's really, we're looking this way, and that could be that spiritual adultery thing. We're looking this way so strongly to get what we're after that we're totally ignoring this over here, and it's like we're in bed with the wrong side. Does that make any sense? Dennis, did you have something you wanted to add in? We'll get you the mic. Hang on just a second. Could you turn them up just a hair? Is the switch on? Could you check this? There, oh, that was me. Check his. Okay. Is it turned off by chance, the mute button? Is it red or green? Is it green? It's the top one we're looking at. There we go. I just heard it go.
Okay, we'll try it again.
There we go.
Okay, when they're talking about the lust, it was acceptance is what I picked up on. That's the driving force. They're looking for acceptance. And I also, when we were talking about the lack of the word, what hit me was lack of love. The word is Jesus. Jesus is God. God is love. So is that lack of that for maybe the people in the car? Or in the ministry?
Okay, I'm just writing them down. Anybody else got anything you want to add at the moment? Okay, the next line. It was daytime and in color. That tells us how to interpret the dream. This is not a warning dream, even though it goes and says there's no defining colors, but it wasn't black and white. It was in color. Daytime, God works in the light. The demonic kingdom works in darkness. That's a scriptural, just a big scriptural principle. We're supposed to bring things out into the light. The darkness hides things. So it's in the daytime, so that's good. This is God trying to reveal something. It's in color, so this is not a warning dream. This is definitely an information dream, could be a wake-up call. It's something positive and good for the person. It's in color. Okay, so that's about all that whole thing tells us. And if you look in the book, it'll say basically what I just said. I'm just speeding us up a little bit. Last paragraph there. I noticed one woman on the right side, passenger side, behind the car. Then there was two women on the left side, driver's side, behind the car. So look at the picture of that with me, if you would. That's what that looks like. One woman, of course, we've got the passenger. The car's facing down, so the driver's side, as we're looking at it, is to the right. Passengers to the left. She's saying, as she's sitting facing down, there was one woman back to her right, which would be the passenger side, and two women on the left side behind, which is the driver's side. We'll read on and then we'll come back. The one lady on the right rear, looked like Joy Behar, however that's pronounced. We talked about that a little bit last week. Since we have a recognizable person, it goes back to what we said before. It's usually what the person represents to the dreamer. She said what Joy Behar represents to her is ungodliness, sin, lack of righteousness. And we kind of looked her up and saw who she's on The View, and that's I guess it doesn't make any difference what we think, it's what the dreamer what the person represents to the dreamer. The other two people on the other side have no idea who they were. The lady on the right, Joy, had dark hair and dark draping clothing, and had a cloak on, loose clothing, had a cloak on. She was tying fishing line and what I think was a long dark colored scarf on the car and tying it to a tree. So in the picture, it would look like she's trying to stabilize the car from going over the edge into the river. Okay. How do you want to open that up and look at that? We got a hand in the air. Go ahead.
Okay, a couple different thoughts. So, 1 and 2, like, I feel like those are specific numbers on different sides of the vehicles. Passenger side may represent something, driver side may represent something, and then the two numbers being divided out. So I looked up driver, looked up passenger, and I looked up side. And then there's 1 and 3.
Okay. Give us
That's a
the
theory.
driver first.
Okay.
What does that stand for?
Read them all quickly.
Yeah, go through them quickly and then we'll come back to them.
Okay. If you are driving, you are steering your own destiny. 2, if you are in the passenger seat and someone unknowing is driving, it means God is driving. 3, if the driver is corrupt, it means you are probably being manipulated or controlled. 4, if someone you know is driving a bus, it means they will head up a ministry. Okay. 5, going in the wrong direction means wrong spirit.
First one again, steering your own destiny.
Yes.
What was the next one?
If you are in the passenger seat and someone unknowing is driving, it means God is driving.
Okay, that wasn't the case. Driver side. The only thing that stands out to me as you read that is she's driving her ministry. She's steering her own
She's-
destiny here.
Yeah, in her own.
Anybody
Strength.
disagree with that? Did something else stand out to you? Everybody good with that? So give us passenger side if you've got that.
So it's not passenger side, it's passenger.
Passenger?
Okay.
Passenger, let's hear it. That may not apply because she
Okay.
didn't have a passenger in the passenger
Yeah.
side.
But I wasn't sure because it was like the passenger side. Or we could look at right or left, depending on like,
You think right or left?
from like her perspective, like this is on my right side, this is on my left side, in my back rear view mirror, or
Yeah.
behind me.
She said right and left. Okay?
So do you want to look at that instead?
We should probably look at right and left more than
Then passenger.
passenger or
And
driver.
side.
Because in the dream, I put in the parentheses passenger side and driver side. She said right side and left side.
Oh, okay.
So let's look at right and left. Right obviously is a direction of favor, but what else is it? It's on page 95 in my book. So since I'm there, let me just read it and close your eyes. Right. Generally means good, speaks of authority, power, the strength of man or flesh, the power of God revealed through flesh, we'll do like we did the first time, and let's just take the phrase of that. The power of God revealed. Christ or the church accepted. How many got? Let's start with the first thing. Right is generally good. How many felt that was right in this case? Right here is saying of something good. How many got authority? Power. Got about 4 there. Strength. Strength of man. Power of God revealed. Power of God revealed through flesh. Church or Christ. accepted. So we're looking at the word power, basically, or the strength of man, those two. Okay, I'm going to write those down. We're actually interpreting this in the negative. I mean, it's in the definitions, but we're interpreting it in the negative, versus when she slid to the right side of the road, we got a whole different feeling on that right than on this right hand. Okay, let's go to left. Left, rejection. Generally, it means something not good. Weakness of man. God's strength or ability to demonstrate through man's weakness. Rejection. How many got it feels generally not good? Okay, most of us. Weakness of man. God's strength or ability to demonstrate through man's weakness. Rejection. So most of us got it's not good. A couple of us got weakness of man. So I'm going to write that in. The thing to notice there is they did nothing. The two on the left did nothing. They were unknown people. She didn't know who they were. They maybe the word stranger applies there again. Unbeliever, not belonging is what we got at the first time on stranger. We could go back and revisit it if we want to get detailed. The only one that was trying to do something was the one on the right. And if again, just pan out to the big picture. If you're trying to keep a car from going in the ditch, you're doing it all wrong with a scarf and fishing line to tie it to a tree. So you're doing it all wrong. The lady doing it, in her mind, was ungodly. Now, in that particular one there, to me, I also got the word authority. That was authority, power, strength of man. That all kind of tied together there for me. The dark hair and dark clothing, loose and like a cloak, that is obviously speaking of the kingdom of darkness. And we could look it up individual piece by piece, but that's what that's talking about. It's talking about various facets of the kingdom of darkness. So we've got a lady who is on the right, which we interpreted to be a negative thing. So this isn't a helpful person here in this picture helping us. It's a negative thing. There's an authority or a power figure here, but it's the strength of man. It's not necessarily the strength of God. Trying to rescue her. The whole caboodle seems to be covered with darkness, the power of darkness, kingdom of darkness. Just for the fun of it, did anybody look up fishing line? Fishing line, we got a whole bunch of them. Let's see what fishing line is, because I'm really curious on fishing line. We've got 2, 3 of them. Let's start over there. Fishing line.
So fishing line says the means to catch fish, and the second meaning is the gospel.
So would it be like a deceptive gospel?
Say it again. Let's figure out which one of those two, if either applies.
The means to catch fish, the gospel.
How many get peace on means to catch fish? How many get peace on the gospel? Okay. Let's go over here. We'll take the mic over there and see what that one says on fishing line.
Well, I had the same with that, but I was gonna read scarf, the other thing.
Oh, let's,
Okay, never mind.
we have to make a decision on fishing line because it's specifically mentioned. Now, to me, this is a group event, to me, both of them felt right. I don't know why yet, but means to catch fish. It's a way of catching fish. It's, of course, if you're trying to catch human fish, you're going to use the gospel, but it's totally misappropriated. It's actually being done out of darkness or ungodliness. That's how I would interpret that. Way in the back.
Thought on the fishing line, just from a different perspective. What if it represents the silver thread and she wants it to break? Because she says at the end of the dream, you'll be fine if you go in the river. In other words, the lifeline of the people or the person. Different twist, just a thought.
Found myself in the passenger seat with my head out the window telling her 2 or maybe 3 times, call 911, nothing else. My concern was that she would rock the car and make it fall. We were hanging over the dark river that was moving pretty good. The dark woman said, if you go over in the water, you will make it. I don't know on that one, because she was trying to establish the thread. If you're talking the silver cord that we're talking about in Ecclesiastes, that is already established with each individual. So I'm not sure I would see that. It's a good thought, though. I mean, there's nothing wrong with thinking out of the box. Anybody else got anything on the fishing line?
Well, I didn't look it up. This is just what I was hearing. I'm the mother of 3 sons, 1 husband who are all addicted to fishing. Monofilament is transparent. It's not meant to be seen. And hopefully that is going to help in the catch. But the thing that it is always used for catching, that's what it's for. But in this particular case, this was line fishing. It wasn't net fishing. They weren't out to get a whole bunch. It was specific. And I went on then and I looked at the dark colored scarf. I thought, how is that going to tie in with that?
Time for the scarf.
And well, it was interesting because what it said about, or no, this isn't. I looked that up. That I did look up, and it said that it means to cover or drape with pieces of fabric. It's slang for greedy eating, like they snarfed it up, but they scarfed it.
Scarfed it down.
Yeah, but then they also said it's meant to hide and to cover things. And then I looked back and I thought, well, that goes along with the loose-fitting cloak that the dark-haired woman had on, because much could be hidden under that. So there was a lot of things hidden and deceptive as far as I was concerned, because that line and that scarf, the scarf was going to hide the line, which was transparent, and it was absolutely deceptive.
Did you have anything besides that, Vicki? Hang on a sec. Need the mic. Hang on.
I have also scarf is growing cold like a hardened heart. It's cold atmosphere. The other ones don't really apply. I'm enduring hardship for Christ, glory, hiding the glory and covering, which already had.
I'm making some notes. Used to hide things. Growing cold.
Growing cold like a hardened heart, and then cold atmosphere.
Okay. Growing cold like hardened heart. I'm also going to write down for the fishing line, the transparent or meant not to be seen. That I have, that when you say I have peace on that, that's like, yeah, that can play in here. I hear something, but I don't know what it is.
So the fishing line, because it doesn't really tell us a positive or a negative meaning in it, but if you took fishing line and, and it just says the means to catch fish or the gospel, can it be false gospel? And, trying to catch the Christians with a false gospel.
So it could be.
Because
Go ahead.
that seems like this seems positive to me for some reason, but I think we're looking for negative. So I was just trying to find the other side.
Yeah. Another thought that goes through my mind is the fishing line is a means to secure the ministry, stabilize the person. It's trying to tie to the ministry and the person, because that's the car. That's what's represented in the car. So the fishing line, did anybody look up tree? By any chance? Because they were trying to tie it to a tree. Anyway, the fishing line and the scarf, which neither one will work to stabilize a car in this position. Transparent, you're not going to see it well.
Trees.
Scarf is designed for hiding things. Growing cold. I think, here's my opinion. Tree. Okay, let's look. Person or covering, leader, shelter, false worship, evil influence. That deserves a little bit of paying attention to. Let's read through that closely. Tree, the tree. Person. Covering. A leader. A shelter, false worship, evil influence. Anybody get anything on person? Covering, leader, shelter, false worship? Boy, you all sleeping? Nobody got nothing on nothing. You got one? False worship? See, to me, those three together there, the first two, absolutely not. The last one, no. But leader, shelter, and false worship. Again, I'm not sure. We're trying to secure a ministry through a means that won't work to a leader, something that told you this is how you do it. It will cause shelter, but it's actually false worship, which could be the spiritual adultery part. I'm going to write them down. You don't have to, but I'm going to write them down. Evil influence,
See,
the last one.
Vern, I also have from the other book a couple other things.
Throw them in real slowly.
Well, there's a bunch of them, but one of them, and I don't know if this pertains, but hanging on a tree, because it's kind of hanging to the tree, it was what I was thinking, means judgment or cursed. I don't know if
No, that one doesn't sit
one's-
right in my
oh,
spirit.
Okay. But it's person, righteous believer, Jesus Christ, country or nation, the cross, life, the kingdom, family, company of people. If planted by a stream means prosperity, hanging on a tree, judgment, or curse, beside still waters, under a green tree, but it wouldn't be green. Yeah. Under a green tree can mean adultery or spiritual adultery.
There's things in there that could give a little more light if we wanted to dig into them, but they all fall under leader, shelter. What was the other one? Leader, shelter. False worship. evil influence. I'm going to write them all 4 down. Because people not in God, that'd be evil influence. Okay, so now the big picture of that paragraph. We've got people who show up behind the car. What is behind again? I don't think I wrote it down. What did we decide on that? Unaware? Hidden. I'm going to write it down this time. Unaware. Unsuspecting. So we've got these people in the dream. One is definitely ungodly, and that's the one who's most active. Showing up unaware, unexpectedly, they just showed up. Doesn't say where they came from, anything, she just noticed they're there. Trying to secure the ministry or what just happened with something, the scarf speaks of something hidden, going cold like a hardened heart, or the atmosphere being cold, transparent, not meant to be seen, fishing line, means to catch fish or the gospel. See, that stands out to me because it's speaking of the ministry. And the heart of every ministry needs to be to get people saved. So in this rescuing this ministry, this person, their ministry, which is to spread the gospel and get people saved, there's hidden, unaware, unsuspecting things going on from, and it's being tied back to a leader or somebody we believed, a shelter, false worship, evil influence, that tree. We know it's the kingdom of darkness at work because of the clothing and the representation of the person. Anybody got anything you want to throw in here?
Well, I was looking at it and thinking, and as far as the tree, I was thinking security, because that would be a good object to tie off to. It's just the means that they were using, instead of using a cable, something that would secure it to secure it. That was a false and deception. Like she was trying to appear to be saving them, but ultimately that was not. That's why she said if you go over in the water, you'll make it.
This isn't going to work, but trying to make her believe it does.
False security.
False sense of hope, security. Okay, so now I'm going to give you what I think is the big picture of that paragraph. And then you jump in. If it agrees, disagrees, I don't care, whatever. We're trying to figure it out. Trying to see what's peaceful. We're in a vulnerable spot with the ministry, with our personal life, because we were driving in deception and we lost control, and now we're in this position. Behind, we have to add the word, from my perspective, we have to add the word past here. Past. There's things from the past that are hidden, we're not aware of, we're unsuspecting of, that are attached to the ministry without, might even be a subconscious thing, attached to the ministry. We look at them with the conscious mind. When she turned around and looked, it's like, I'm sure she thought that'll never work. But something from our past says, this will help. It's a deception, it's wrong, comes from the kingdom of darkness, and it's going to affect the gospel and the catching of people, the fishing. But I don't think I'm seeing it all yet. Anybody get anything different there? You want to take a little shot at the big picture of that paragraph? We're being influenced from the past unawarely. Part of the past influencing here is ungodly. It's witchcraft. It's from the kingdom of darkness. Dark hair, dark draping clothes. That's how a witch dresses. Their cloak, their very loose-fitting clothes, always very dark. What you got, Sally?
Well, the fact that when she saw this one person, it looked like Joy Behar, and then when she explained what her thoughts were regarding her, to me, this wasn't a warning dream, but I think it was a caution. I have to say that, I really do, because this is my spin.
Okay.
You think this of Joy Behar. If you continue, this could be your end. She was maybe at one time all right, but as she is now, she is not who you want to be. And I think that, to me, I think this person is, I couldn't say with the false worship, because I think she's having a personal crisis right now, whether she knows it or not, as to which way she's going to go. I think it's kind of like this, the facts are being shown to her. Probably they have been revealed to her somewhat before this even happened, in one way or another by God. But right now, this is very critical, because a choice, and I loved it when she said, that there was no fear. Later on, we see that. So apparently, it's making sense to her. But I think a lot of times God will show you something in a dream that's not you, but if you continue on, this could be the consequences if you continue.
Let me add a thought to that. If we actually are in this position, it could be easy for us to hook up with the wrong force,
Yes.
the wrong power. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's the people behind us who are helping us, but really doing nothing, maybe even making it worse.
Yeah, it's smoke and mirrors.
Anybody else have anything you want to add in? Now let's go to this and then we'll come back. I found myself in the passenger seat with my head out the window telling her 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 times, 2 for sure, maybe 3, call 911, nothing else. And then she says what she was thinking. My concern is she would rock the car and make it fall. We were hanging over a dark river that was moving pretty good. Okay, we need to look up the word river, and it's a dark river, so we have to interpret that in the negatively. The dark woman said, if you go over in the water, you will make it. Nobody knows if that's true. Give us river.
You're talking Kevin or me?
Yeah, you, whoever.
Okay.
It's on page 91, you said?
Yep.
Right there it
Spirit
is.
Or there it is. Okay.
We have to divide that into the negative. So the first one, spirit of manner of the world might apply. Spirit or life, that's positive interpretation. Sin, wickedness, judgment, righteousness, trial. Deep, wide, muddy river, don't know if it was that. Dry bed, wasn't that. Was dark, which indicates not of God. So if we go into this thing, we're going to go into, close your eyes. If we go into this river, we're going to go into sin. We're going to go into wickedness. If our car, our ministry, falls into this river, we're going into judgment. Righteousness. Trial. How many have got sin? How many got wickedness? How many got judgment? Trial. I think they all apply. The one that was the strongest to me, unfortunately, was judgment. But I think they all apply. They all kind of felt like, yeah, that could be it. Spirit of the world stood out to you? Can we get the mic there, just to make sure that everybody hears that? I'll have her repeat that.
Sorry, to me, it's the spirit of the world. It's the sin, the wickedness, all of that, but it's the world system. It is the spirit of the world pulling on this girl, wanting her to give in and come into the spirit of the world. That muddy, dark river just represents the world. They're trying to pull her away from God into the world.
Which will end up in sin, wickedness, and judgment. You got something else?
It could also just mean like things from her past, right? Because you were talking about stuff behind.
The river's right in front of the car.
No, but like, are we in a new scene? Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I was thinking about like behind, like things behind the car, right?
Yeah, we jumped away from the women for a bit to get to that next paragraph. Now, the positive part here. You had something back there, Vicki? Yeah, I can't hear you.
With the, was bringing up before, we said to wait on the riverbank. To me, the car is on the edge of the riverbank.
Yep.
And the riverbank is out of the spirit, not entering in, about to enter in. Decision time, place of decision.
Ooh, that's
place-
good. I got to write
place-
that down.
Okay.
Where would I put that? Caught on the berm?
Yeah, that would be by berm or.
Ditch, berm. I'm going to put it up with ditch. Riverbank. Same again, and same
Okay.
slowly so I can write.
Out of the spirit, not entering in.
Okay, and if the river is evil, so we're not entering into evil yet, we're on the edge.
Number 3 is about to enter in.
Yeah, could fall in, we're teetering.
Decision time, place of decision.
Yeah, that one is, I think, absolutely
Place of prayer,
good.
fruitfulness, and prosperity. That's
Nah.
positive, no.
Prayer, maybe.
Yeah.
They usually give positive and negative definitions in each one, and you got to figure out which way is the water flowing. Little pun there. The good part about the last is she got out of the driver's seat. That's good. She became a passenger. That means we're looking for, we don't want to control this thing. We're looking for help. And that's what she did. She stuck her head out the window to the only help she saw, which was not really help. Call 911, nothing else. Call 911 means you're in trouble, you need help. That is good. So it's ending well. I think, and I'd have to do a little more praying about it, but I think the paragraph with the women is an explanation of the deception. It's a description of the deception. Because it doesn't tell us what the deception is, but that paragraph, I believe, is telling us what the deception is. Any idea what that would be? I've got a picture in my mind on it. Seeing if anybody else got anything.
So, where'd it go? Where were they talking about shelter, leader? That was about.
That was the tree.
Yeah. So would it be she's looking like? Could she possibly see where like the deceptive help that's not really helping, be kind of being self-aware on who she's looking to for guidance? Because she's calling out for help, but it's not the right help. So would that be?
not who she's looking to.
But,
I think it's the past.
yeah,
And people who have affected her in the past.
yeah.
It's behind her. This is how they would approach fixing this problem. That is the deception that caused her to get into the problem.
Oh, so it just kind of be like an old way of doing things, and she has to, like, God's gonna help her create a new way. Like, actually, this is how we do. Okay.
There was joy being the ungodly. There's been ungodly input that you've been told will lead you or shelter you. It will hold on to you and keep you safe from the past. And I personally think that paragraph is describing the deception because the ditch that we hit the ditch because of lust and addiction. It became a snare, could be some religious things in there too, but we are so focused on, we want something so badly that we're willing to do whatever we can to do to get it. That is pictured here with the bad input in that paragraph of, even if you hit the ditch, it's okay. You can go even into the water. You'll be okay. See, all of that is bad advice. That's all bad advice. We'll use fishing line and a scarf. Hidden things, things you can't see, things that are not easily visible, so you can say, there it is. No, hidden things and things that don't work for holding a car or a ministry, taking care of it. I have I'm still open to thoughts on this, but I think the past and what the person has been told how to deal with difficult situations in their past became or reveals the deception. That's my opinion. The deception being the reason we got into this mess is we are driving too hard after something. We're out of control. We spun out because we're being driven towards something, and we're going to make this happen no matter what, like an addict. It's going to affect people who are in the ministry with us, our generation and the next generation. The good part is there's a realization that these people are not helping us. So this past stuff we've been taught is not helping us. Let's call for help. Well, in a Christian setting, in a ministry setting, that would hopefully be we're calling God. Doesn't say who they were supposed to call, but we're calling God, hopefully. If we don't get help here and we just persist in our deception, the spirit of the world, what Heidi mentioned, that's the spirit of the world. That's the thing that got us into this mess, I think. That's part of the deception of that lust, spirit of the world, sin, wickedness, judgment. So let me throw something in here just as sometimes then what I'll do is I'll throw something in, like when you're dealing with like lust. Let's throw something into that. Let's do a real obvious one. You can't love God and mammon. You can't be craving both at the same time. You'll either love one, hate the other, or it'll go the other way around. So let's throw money into this. So if the lust or the driving thing we're looking for, just as an example, not saying it is, just as an example, let's say it's money, because money can be something that we lust after. It's evil. The love of it is evil. So we're out of control going for, we want more money, and we're like an addict. We're going to find a way to make this happen. So throw that into that third paragraph. if I would be running my ministry, my life, on the perception of money can save me from anything, money would be like that fishing line or scarf. There's a lot of hidden evil that comes with money. It won't save you from anything. But that's what I would have been told. Money is your shelter. If you have enough money, you're okay. Money is the person who's the leader. That's what the tree represented. They were being tied off to. Somebody who was a leader in the past said, if you've got money, and I'm just using money as an example, if you've got money, it'll be a shelter. It'll take care of you. You can tie off to it, and it'll be safe. And that whole pack of input became the deception. Just as an example. That became the deception that we were driving in. We were running our ministry in this white-covered, slippery road. We were deceived. What's the deception? Well, if you use money, the thing we're after, the thing we're craving, the thing we're almost out of control for, and we're going to get, is going to be finances. We're going to get ahead financially. That caused us to lose control of the ministry. Could have ended up really bad, but God, out of his mercy, stopped us by the ditch being what we would hit. We'd hit that desire, that addiction. We lost it, we hit that. Other people in the car with us are going to be affected. The ministry is going to be affected. The household's going to be affected. That's first big paragraph, the end of it, my household. It's going to affect my sphere of influence when I hit the ditch. See, if I just had money, I'd be secure, which is a very ungodly way to think. It comes from the kingdom of darkness. Our security's in God, not in money. I just throw that in as an example. I'm not sure money's it. I'm just throwing in whatever the person is so focused on getting, the lust, the ditch. The ditch reveals the deception, I think. And God covered the ditch with that snow berm to save you from the deception, or you to went off into the spirit of the world and into the river and sin and wickedness. Anybody got anything other or better or different? I'm just rattling this around, and as I'm rattling, I'm going, what does that feel like? Does that feel right? Does that feel wrong? What do we got?
What keeps coming up in me is there any meaning to why she didn't get out of the car?
Probably afraid of rocking it too much, it would go in the water. She didn't get out of the ministry. She stuck with the ministry.
See, that's what I was thinking, is she's determined to stay. In the
She's
ministry.
determined to stay in this thing, which is good. That's a good observation. I like that. That's good.
This is kind of what I have been getting pretty much through the whole thing, actually, in degrees and different rabbit trails. But I think she has a hole in her soul that is driving her to try to, I don't know if she's suffered a lot of rejection and doesn't think that she's as important in the body and her ministry.
Rejection came up in some of those.
I think that can drive her. I think that that is a hole that is so big and so bad. And until there is that healing, and she's kind of this mindset, when you want a helping hand, look at the end of your own arm. And, you know, that just doesn't work in this kind of a thing. And I hurt for her because I think she really loves God. And I think she's just been targeted, but I also know that God has intervened. But I think it's a hole in her soul.
What do you feel on that? Does that feel peaceful to you? Or does that feel like, rejection? I personally, that feels peaceful to me. Is the rejection the deception? Give her the mic if you would, please.
Yes, sorry.
I think it can play in a big part because the enemy knows how to set you up, to upset you. And he can make things, if you have that root of, you know what you can have? You can actually have been rejected, but once that is taken care of, then you always have a fear of rejection. So you try so hard to make yourself worthy and to make yourself, you know, anything that is only going to glorify you and not glorify the Lord is wrong. We know that. Everything we do has to be for his glory. But she is trying to get herself okay so that she can then function. And it's a mean thing because the enemy will make her feel it over and over again through many circumstances.
Driving the road of deception, the deception would be we're making decisions on the basis of the whole and us, the
Right.
rejection.
Yeah.
How do the women in the back play into this?
Well, I think that they kind of have had their eyes on her, and she has somewhat, you know, if the one woman and the child live with her, that she provided a shelter there for them, met a need at a time when there was a need that needed to be met. And it could be that this is the beginning. I mean, I think she's probably a very nice person, you know, basically, and probably has a lot of fruit of the Spirit, actually.
So the people
So
in
you-
the back seat, you think, are representing people she's helping, taking care of? They're in her,
Well,
they're in her
I
care
think
somehow.
the two of them could be, but I don't know about that other woman.
Third one. Do you have any opinions on the people outside the car in the back?
I've wondered about them. I wondered if they were good or bad. Because I had said to Ken, I said, I don't know, I'm kind of wavering. I've gone back and forth. I thought they were bad in the beginning, but then I wondered if possibly they could have been on assignment to just observe.
I don't know. It's all the darkness around them.
I know it.
That
That was the
bothers
thing
me.
well, it's dark, dark, dark,
Yeah,
dark, dark.
yeah.
There's 5 darks. And,
Yeah.
and you never saw them. You never knew who they were, really. And that was the thing that was the question mark for me.
So Kevin's got something, so we'll go to him next. While the mic's going there, let me say this. Let's look this up. Page, where does it talk about people? Here it is. Faceless individuals. Nope, that's not it. It's not strangers. Could these people outside the car offering a false sense of will help you be spirit realm beings trying to influence the ministry? Spirit realm beings, like demons, trying to influence from the outside. Kevin.
So, I mean, we said they're dark, 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 but they're not. There's nothing in here that says that those other 2 women had any color, personality. They weren't dark, they weren't light. There was also 2 women on the left side.
Yep.
And nothing else is said about them.
Yep.
It makes me think that there are more witnesses, right? That they're outside the ministry. They're watching the ministry happen. They're watching her struggle with this, but they're not doing anything to help. They're just judging and
Observing.
observing what's going on.
That could
So
be
that
good.
could be spiritual, but
That
it could
could be
also
spiritual.
be
Could be physical.
human.
Yep. That could be good. That could be good. Go ahead.
Could those 2 people be people in the past that shaped that brought that hole that spirit came from?
Possibly. Because I still think the behind means the past. Somehow. Somehow. We got one over there. The number 2 for those 2 In the negative, it means division or difference, opposition, enmity, that type of thing, to separate. In the positive, it means a sign for witness, a testimony, agreement, or unity. I just don't get the feeling they're positive, but they could be what Kevin mentioned. Observers. Not sure positive or negative. Observers. So here we're down to the point where interpretations come from God. We got to hear from God. So we got a week to now we've got all the different things, pieces laid out in front of us. We have a week to say, this is what I think God is telling us. And since we're doing this as a group, he probably won't give one person the whole thing. He will give different people different pieces, and we'll bring them together and see the picture. So here's where we step out in the water and walk by faith. So let's ask him for help. Lord, in the name of Jesus, we know that interpretation for dreams come only from you. And we've picked this apart and done the best we can to this point, but we're just really not seeing this clearly yet. I couldn't write down the interpretation and say, I see it, I know it. Even though I run a scenario, it's like, it doesn't lock in inside of me. It doesn't seem right somehow. So, Lord, we are asking for direction from your Spirit. You know exactly what this is about. We are asking for divine revelation and insight into this dream so that next week when we come back, we can put this together. We're asking for that. And I know sometimes interpretations come in their own time. But if possible, if we come back, Lord, and none of us got anything, then it's like, well, you're not going to give it to us. But if possible, when we come back, we want to put this together. In Jesus' name, amen.